Welcome to NHL Quick Hits. I'm David Crosby, joined by Steele Roden, and the Maple Leafs snapped a 3-game losing streak thanks to a 31-save shutout from Jack Campbell. The 2-0 win over the Flames was just their second W in their last 8 games, and that big lead they built atop the North Division, that has all but disappeared. It was only Campbell's second start since he injured his leg against Calgary on January 24th, and he continued his lights-out play this season. He improved to a perfect 4-0 with 2 shutouts, a .965 save percentage, and a 1.0 goals against average. Frederik Andersen is going through his worst stretch of the season, and maybe one of the worst stretches he's had as a member of the Maple Leafs, and that has come since he returned from a lower body injury of his own. He is 2-5 with an .876 save percentage in those last 7 starts. Steele, would giving Campbell a shot as the number 1 guy in Toronto be the right move?
Yes, it has to be the move they have to make, and it has to be Sheldon Keefe who makes that call, and I think it's the right call to make right now, especially since Jack Campbell's playing the best we've seen him so far. And again, there's multiple reasons as why he should be getting the start, and that I could list right now, but I'm only going to go into depth about 2 right here. The first reason is Frederik Andersen's still injured. He came out a couple days ago and still says he's battling with that lower body injury that we talked about. The Leafs have another 4 days off right now. They don't play again until Thursday against the Ottawa Senators. So give Frederik Andersen this time to rest. Let Jack Campbell start against the Senators, even maybe again on Saturday when they take on the Edmonton Oilers, and let Frederik Andersen get 100% healthy, because we're really going to need him going in the stretch of the last remainder of the regular season and leading into the playoffs. The second reason is just because Jack Campbell's playing better. Like you said, Frederik Andersen has an .897 save percentage so far this entire season. He's 13-8-2. He has 0 shutouts. Jack Campbell, you said perfect record, 4-0-0. He has 2 shutouts on the season, one against Calgary last night, the other against the Edmonton Oilers, and he has a .965 save percentage. So you've got to give the start to the guy who's playing better, and that's Jack Campbell right now.
Frankly, the numbers don't lie, Steele, and I think it's time for the Leafs to find out exactly what they have in Jack Campbell. We've heard Kyle Dubas say time and again he made that trade because he believes Campbell's a good goalie. He had term. He wanted him for more than just a rental. And I'm going to go a little bit further than you did. I don't even think he should start the next 2 games. I think he should start the next 5 or 6. They don't have another back-to-back set for a couple weeks now, and they have some really important games coming up right now. I mentioned that division lead evaporating. They're going to play a couple games against the Edmonton Oilers and against the Winnipeg Jets, who are both right there underneath Toronto. They need to get as many wins as possible and as they can in these next few weeks. And it's easy for people to say, oh, Campbell's got a great record this year, but he's only played 4 games. He's barely played at all. It's easy to look good when you only have to play every few weeks. But I'd like to push back on that a little. And while Campbell's never been a starting goalie, in the season where he had his most starts, that was 31 games that he played, he had a .928 save percentage. That was his best year when he saw the net, the most that he's had in 68 career games. His save percentage is .919. This is a talented goalie who was stuck behind Jonathan Quick. And the reality is, like you said, Andersen is simply not getting it done for Toronto right now. And I think if Campbell can't be that guy, the Leafs need to seriously consider making a move for a goalie like Elvis Merzlikins at the deadline.
This is a prove-it year for Frederik Andersen, and I still think he can do it. I still think he can be that guy for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but again, he has to prove it. He's been struggling all season long. If he doesn't get his act together by the playoff time, they're going to have to make a push for a different goaltender. And, you might be right letting Jack Campbell start the next 5 to 6 games. I was even thinking about that too, but maybe if Frederik Andersen is ready by that time, by the weekend, maybe you can try to get him back on track. But Jack Campbell's a very underrated goalie. And like you said, he's always been behind someone else in his career. Jonathan Quick, now Frederik Andersen. It's hard to be put in that position when you can get the job done. And I think, like you said, he's only played 4 games so far this season. If he didn't get injured, I think he'd be close to 10 or 11 games on the season so far. And he would have done really, really well in those games. Obviously, maybe his save percentage wouldn't be so high right now, but he's playing great, and there's no reason why they shouldn't go to him for the next, like you said, 4 or 5 games.
Well, speaking of goalies, Phillip Grubauer led the way for Colorado with a 31-save shutout of his own in a 6-0 statement win over Minnesota. The Avalanche have outscored their opponents 27-7 during a 6-game win streak. Steele, this potent offense is highly regarded around the league. But is Grubauer one of the most underrated players on this team? And in my opinion, one of the most underrated goalies in the NHL.
Yeah, of course he is. He's so underrated, especially with the team, the talent that he has on the team. Like, you're looking at a roster with Nathan MacKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar. The hype was so much around Cale Makar when he entered the league and what he could do, and he's shown what he can do in the last 2 seasons. But playing with those guys, you're not going to get your name thrown out there a lot with those top-tier guys. But Phillip Grubauer is carrying the load because Pavel Francouz has been out the entire season, as well as Hunter Miska is just not getting the job done. So underrated goaltender in the NHL right now. There's 3 goaltenders that come to mind when I'm thinking about the Vezina Trophy at the end of the year. That's Vasilevsky, Fleury, and Phillip Grubauer. Now, Vasilevsky, you can say that he's playing in a much easier division than the rest of them. But again, those are the top 3 goalies right now, and I would have Phillip Grubauer leading that pack for the Vezina Trophy at the end of the season. And like we mentioned, Hunter Miska is just not getting the job done. 416 goals against average, 838 save percentage. Phillip Grubauer has been taking the load, and he's been getting the job done for them.
Well, it seems like the Avalanche agree with your assessment of these backup goalies, because they went out and sent a 6th-round pick to Buffalo for backup goalie Jonas Johansson. Now, even after that move, Colorado has $2.7 million of projected cap space ahead of the deadline, which, by the way, is a lot more than it sounds if their trade partner retains some salary. So, Steele, if you were advising Joe Sakic, not that he needs much advice because what a great job he's done there, but let's say you could get in his ear a little bit, what kind of players do you think Colorado should look to add at the deadline?
I'd go right back to Buffalo and just pick apart their team right now. And Jack Edwards put it perfectly the other day on live television when he said it's the NHL's version of a dumpster fire in Buffalo. It's a complete yard sale in there. And like, again, we mentioned on last week's NHL Quick Hits where there were discussion about Taylor Hall last season, maybe even this season, but I would even consider looking at Sam Reinhart. That would be a great depth player to get in your lineup. Stick him in front of the net. He's great around the net with hand-eye coordination, grabbing those rebounds, working hard in the corners. A Sam Reinhart type of player, I think, would put them over the top right now.
If it was me, I think I would go towards the defense. I mean, it would definitely help to add a guy like Sam Reinhart. Any team in the league would be happy to add somebody with his type of talent. But I just look at this blue line and how young those defenders are. It helped adding Devin Taves in the offseason. I think they could stand to add one more guy ahead of the deadline. Let's finish up with the Vegas Golden Knights, who might also be shopping around at the deadline. Their current 5-game win streak has helped them build a 3-point lead over Colorado for the West Division lead. Now, if we get the dream matchup of the Knights and Avalanche in the playoffs, which team are you taking in a 7-game series?
That's a hard question. It's really tough because those are like the best teams in the NHL right now. And I know a couple of episodes ago I mentioned that the Leafs were, but these are the best teams right now. And they're, like you said, 6-game and 5-game winning streak. I want to go with the experience. Vegas has Alec Martinez, Alex Pietrangelo, Marc-Andre Fleury. All those guys have won Stanley Cups. But then again, I look over at the Avalanche, and you just have so much young talent and quickness on that team. And with Phillip Grubauer playing the way he's been playing this season, I have to go with Colorado. As much as I want to go with the experience, I have to go with the skill, the talent, the quickness of the Colorado Avalanche, and I'm taking it in Game 7.
It just seems wrong, doesn't it, that what we both think are the 2 best teams in the Western Conference at worst have to meet in the second round and might even meet in round 1 if one of these teams slip a little bit in the standings. Man, that's going to be crazy, but I think we might finally get that matchup this year. But that's going to wrap up today's episode. I'm David Crosby. That's Steele Roden, and thanks for tuning in to NHL Quick Hits.